You may have just found out that you'll have a deaf or hard of hearing student in your classroom and will be working with interpreters. If you have never interacted with a deaf or hard of hearing student, you may be unsure of how to communicate or what to expect. This video has been made to help address any questions or concerns you may have. All deaf or hard of hearing students are unique and each will require different accommodations. They may or may not communicate through American Sign Language interpreters, communicate through American Sign Language interpreters with a deaf interpreter, speak for themselves, or have some ability to lip read. The most important thing to remember is that each deaf or hard of hearing student is an individual, and the most effective approach is to check in with them privately at the beginning of the semester to find out how to best accommodate their needs. Please expect the same from your deaf or hard of hearing learners as you do with the other students. In your class, sign language interpreters facilitate communication by listening in class and interpreting lectures and discussion into signed language. They also interpret deaf or hard of hearing students' signed communication into spoken English. This includes when the student is called upon, works in groups, has a comment or a question, or makes a presentation. Sign language interpreters are skilled professionals who have studied American Sign Language and interpretation for many years. Interpreters cannot answer personal questions about the student, interject personal opinions, or assist a student with schoolwork. They are strictly there to interpret what is being said and heard in the classroom. Interpreters provide communication access for the student, instructor, and the class. All interpreters who work at Bow Valley College maintain memberships with the provincial and the national interpreting organizations and abide by the AVLET Code of Ethics and Guidelines for Professional Conduct, which includes confidentiality. Interpreters should not be expected to hand out papers, take notes, participate in class discussions, supervise the classroom, or attend class if the student is absent. Interpreters will often work in teams. If classes are more than an hour in length or content is complex, there will be two interpreters. One will be interpreting while the other is watching visuals and listening to assist the primary interpreter with cues. They will switch every 15 to 20 minutes. There are a number of things to keep in mind to ensure successful classroom communication. Speak directly to the deaf or hard of hearing person, not the interpreter. A common mistake is to say, "Ask him," or "Tell her." Please make eye contact and speak directly to the deaf or hard of hearing person as though the interpreter is not present. This shows respect and helps develop the student-teacher relationship. The speaker and the interpreter should be in the same line of vision for the student. Interpreters may ask you where you are sitting or standing in order to be seated next to you. If you're using the smartboard or whiteboard frequently, they may choose to be seated close to it. Please make sure not to stand between the interpreter and the deaf or hard of hearing student. Also, if you must pass in between, please just walk through. It draws more attention to wait or duck and say, "Excuse me," than it does to just walk through normally. This is accepted and normal behavior in deaf culture. Expect lag time. It will take additional time for the student to respond or comment since the interpreter has to first see it in order to vocalize it. Also, there may be a delay when signing what has been heard. American Sign Language is not grammatically structured the same as English. We do not sign word for word what is said. There may be times when it takes longer for the interpretation to happen. Other times it may be as simple as one sign to interpret a whole phrase, sentence, or concept. When the student is asked to produce writing, please keep in mind that an answer in American Sign Language may not translate to a grammatically correct English sentence. Students may request seating in the front of the classroom, near to and facing the instructor to ensure optimal use of visual cues such as lip reading, facial expressions, and gestures. Please give any class materials and handouts to the interpreters and do this in advance whenever possible. This allows the interpreter to prepare to interpret the class content. Interpreters often have to prepare outside of class, just as students do. Examples would be lecture notes, handouts, speeches, audio recordings, song lyrics, websites, PowerPoint slides, movies and videos, books, calendars, Adobe Connect URLs, etc. Check lighting. Avoid standing in front of windows, as the glare interferes with sight. If you are darkening a room to show a movie or a presentation, please make sure you have a well-lit area near the screen so the deaf or hard of hearing student can see both the presentation and the interpreter. Check with the student if they can see both the interpreter and the screen. Emphasize important information such as assignments or schedule changes by writing details on a whiteboard or providing handouts. Anything you can do to make things visual is beneficial. These are the main points to keep in mind while working in the classroom with deaf or hard of hearing learners and interpreters. We hope that this video has been helpful in addressing any concerns you may have previously had. If you have any further questions regarding working with interpreters and deaf or hard of hearing students, feel free to ask the interpreters in your classroom. They are available to address any communication and accessibility issues that may arise.